Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Let me introduce some members of town government that assist this board. To my left, excuse me, is Martin Simon, Assistant Town Attorney. To his left is Blaise Donadio, Planner in the Planning Department. We're all here tonight seeking relief from the Smithtown zoning ordinances, and it's our job to try to help you achieve the relief you are requesting whenever possible. It's up to you to provide this board with precise and accurate information so we can make a decision based on the facts presented. This board must consider the 5 area variance considerations in order to render a decision, and they are as follows. They're also listed up there for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. Number 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. Whether the requested area variance is substantial. Number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Procedures for tonight's meeting. Cases will be called in the order they are advertised. When you are called, please present your certificates of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio if you haven't done so already. Then you'll be asked to go to the podium where you'll state your name and address for the record and then proceed to tell us why you need your variance. At the end of your presentation, if anyone in the audience would like to speak on your case, they will be given one opportunity to do so. Then the applicant can go back to the podium to answer their concerns. Once the public hearing is closed, no further information will be accepted concerning the case. There are 2 ways to find out about your case. You can call the planning office tomorrow after 12 p.m., or you can wait and be notified by mail.
There's an adjournment.
No.
We have something marked as an adjournment.
Is what?
We have something marked as request adjournment.
Oh, Crooked Hill Road?
Yes.
I didn't see that, I'm sorry. We do have one adjournment tonight. That's case number 19053, 5 Crooked Hill Road, LLC. For that case? We have a full load next week, right?
We do.
Okay. That case is adjourned to February 13th.
All righty. All set? Ready? Okay. The first case on the agenda, case number 19044, Daniel Blatt, 19 Melody Lane, Kings Park. The location of the property is the north side of Melody Lane, 116 feet east of Glen Ridge Lane. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 50 feet to 45 feet, to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 16 feet to 15 feet, to reduce the total side yards from 34 feet to 32 feet, for a proposed 354 square foot porch.
Good evening.
Good evening. Daniel Blatt. Can you hear me better? 19 Melody Lane, Daniel Blatt, Kings Park, New York.
Would you like this gentleman to speak on your behalf?
Yes.
Fine, thank you.
We don't have that folder.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is John Gleason, architect, 336 6th Avenue, St. James, 11780. I'm here to represent Mr. Blatt in the design of his proposed roofed-over front yard porch. As you can see on the site plan on the projection, the porch will go the full width of the house. It's going to have a nice gazebo on the left side, shaped like an octagon. The house is currently 50 feet from the front yard property line. That is the maximum minimum front yard setback, and we're asking for a 5-foot reduction for the porch. There's no substantial inconvenience for neighboring properties. They will not be impacted. There's no harm to the environment. There's no trees and special vegetation being dismantled and removed for the proposed porch. And as of yet, it's a proposed porch. It has not started construction. And hope the board grants us a variance for this nice improvement into the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
Hold on. Ta-da.
These are cases for the, is this the right meeting?
19045.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. They just wrote it wrong.
They wrote it wrong?
That's it.
All right. The next case on the agenda, case number 19045, Rich McDougal, 10 Bernard Street, Fort Salonga. The location of the property is the west side of Bernard Street, 457 feet south of Sunken Meadow Road. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard from 24 feet to 8 feet, to reduce total side yards from 60 feet to 45 feet, to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered for slopes greater than 15% for a proposed 750-square-foot detached garage.
Good evening.
I'm Richard McDougal, the owner of the 10 Bernard Street.
Would you like this gentleman to speak on your behalf?
He's my architect, yeah, he's going to say the majority. I have a couple of points to say if he doesn't get to them.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. John Gleason, 336 Sixth Avenue, St. James. We're here to propose a 750-square-foot detached garage at 10 Bernard Street in Fort Salonga. This property has two front yards, Bernard Street and Chestnut Stump Road. It goes street to street. It's a through lot. The existing house is located in the middle of the property at the most level spot on the lot. This lot has severe slopes in the front along Chestnut Road and also Bernard Street. So the proposed garage will also be located on the level spot on the property. As you can see by photographs that were submitted, it's the best spot for the accessory structure. There will be minimal disturbance of any slopes that could cause erosion during and after construction. I believe this location satisfies the variances we are seeking, 10% slopes. We're not going to be disturbing those slopes. It's the best location, and we're here basically for the setback variances, because it's kind of a, crazy trapezoid double, lot configuration. It's kind of odd for the neighborhood. The garage is no more than 15 feet high, 750 square feet. That conforms to maximum zoning requirements for accessory structures. The house that exists currently does not have a garage, either attached or detached. There is no garage on the property currently. There are 3 adjacent properties that adjoin the location of the garage. All of the adjacent properties' backyards will face the garage. So this proposed garage will not interfere with anybody's sight lines on the front yards of neighboring properties. And it's really the most logical spot for this garage. And again, since the property slopes upwards from both streets, and the way that the woods will almost hide the garage from anybody traveling down these 2 streets, especially during the summertime. So that's how the terrain kind of helps with the location and concealment of the garage, so it doesn't impact the neighbors. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, your main driveway comes off of Bernard Street.
Correct, yes.
Where you have the garage now, is that going to be a new additional driveway to get back to the garage? Or is that there already?
That big parking area is there currently on the property, so we're going to have a little bit of a 10-foot half circle, I guess, arc that goes to the new garage. That big garage, you know, that big driveway, where it says driveway, that area right there, yep, that's the new area right there, to that point right there.
Okay, that's all
Yeah.
new.
Yes, it's, yeah, the big parking area, that is there currently, yes,
All right,
yes.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Are you going to say something, sir?
He's pretty much said everything.
Okay.
Except for, the garage will be approximately 140 feet up from Chestnut Stump Road, the road behind my house, and approximately 170 feet from Bernard Street, the road in front of my house. So it's really almost not even visible from the roads.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you very much. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank
No,
you.
thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Sir, come on up. Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing?
State
State
your
my
name-
name.
state your name and
Edward
address.
McElhone Jr., and I'm at 3 Oak Lane. Oh, sorry. McElhone, and it's a junior. And I've resided 3 Oak Lane, which is also a double. It's, the back end is Chestnut, the front is Oak. So I just want to speak in favor of it.
Okay, fine.
Should I explain why, or?
It's up to
It
you.
follows with the whole tradition of the rest of Chestnut. Almost every other house on Chestnut has detached garages. So it's aesthetically pleasing.
All right, fine.
Sure, thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19046, Giovanni Stenko, 21 Heights Road, Fort Salonga. The location of the property is the east side of Heights Road, 465 feet north of Lisa Court. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the maximum height of an accessory structure from 15 feet to 27 feet, to increase the maximum number of stories for an accessory structure from 1 to 2, for a proposed 1,504 square foot detached garage.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Jake Torgrosa. I'm speaking on behalf of Giovanni Stanco. I'm listed as
Do you
the,
have a power of attorney?
yes. I should be listed as a successor agent. Yes, it's Torregrossa.
Did you submit it to the planning department?
Did I submit the power of attorney to planning department? Yes, I did. The agent should be Marciano Stanco, the principal of the firm I work at. And then I'm listed as the successor.
When did you submit it?
A few weeks ago. Is it not here?
Can't seem to find it, but we'll look again. Are you related to the owner of the property?
No.
And the other side of that. And the affidavit. Any chance you can get the owner down here?
Well, the reason why we had it signed was because he wouldn't be able to. I'll call him and see if he can.
You submitted it at the planning department?
Yes.
We're going here, right?
Silly question, do you know who you submitted it to?
I personally didn't submit it. It was Giovanni who submitted it, but it was submitted.
Okay.
If we don't have the power of attorney, we really can't hear the case.
Okay.
I'll tell you what we'll do. Why don't you give him a call
Yeah.
to see if there's any way he can get down here? If he can't, we'll have to postpone it.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. We'll see if we can get him down. Yeah. Moving on.
You got your shoe thing?
Yeah, all right. The next case on the agenda, case number 19047, Kayvon Kazemi, 75 Tulipwood Drive, Comac. The location of the property is the south side of Tulipwood Drive, 369 feet east of Suttonwood Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the rear yard from 25% to 52% for an existing paver patio.
Good evening.
Good evening, folks. Thank you for having me. My name is Kayvon Kazemi. My last name is spelled K-A-Z-E-M-I. I am the owner of 75 Tulipwood Drive in Comac, New York, 11725. Reason I'm here before you today is I applied for a variance to legalize the work that was performed on my property. I had pavers installed around my pool, which exceeds the 25% limit set by the town of Smithtown. When I had the work performed, I was unaware that there were limits to paving square footage. And in good faith, I applied for the variance, and I want to make it right. The work that was performed increases the value of my property as well as the area. It has no impact on the environment or the district. It doesn't negatively impact any of the properties around me or any of my neighbors' properties. They seem to actually like it when they come by for margaritas. The renovations I have made to my property are similar to renovations in surrounding properties according to Google Photos when you go to the aerial view. I don't feel that any of the work that was done was egregious or different than, I guess, the standard for the area.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thanks.
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
No. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Thank you.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19048, Levin Management for Sephora, 2050 Jericho Turnpike, Comac. The location of the property, the south side of Jericho Turnpike, 269 feet east of Walter Court. The property is zoned CB. The applicant is requesting a variance to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 18 feet for a proposed 69-square-foot illuminated wall sign.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paula Ruiz with Universal Signs. My office address is 435 Brook Avenue, Deer Park, New York.
You
Lower.
can tilt it down. Excuse me, did you submit a power of attorney?
Yes.
You have the power of attorney?
Yeah.
You have, okay, fine. Thank you.
Do you want me to repeat everything? Okay. My name is Paula Ruiz with Universal Signs. My office address is 435 Brook Avenue, Deer Park, New York, 11729. I'm here representing Sephora, located at 2050 Jericho Turnpike, Comac, New York, 11725. The last name? Ruiz, R-U-I-Z. I'm here seeking relief to increase the maximum height of the wall sign for Sephora from 15 feet to 18 feet. This project has no impact in the surrounding areas since the property doesn't face any residential area.
Is this in the Mayfair Shopping Center?
That's correct.
Most of the signs are pretty high over there. All right, does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, do you have any luck with your client? Did you have any luck in? Okay.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19049, Benedetto Lamonto, 52 Stony Hill Path, Smithtown. The location of the property is the west side of Stony Hill Path, 1,658 feet north of Landing Meadow Road. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 60 feet to 46 feet for a proposed 2,347 square foot one-story addition with 583 square foot side entry garage. To reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 100 feet to 96 feet for a proposed 664 square foot covered porch.
Good evening.
How are you? My name is Benedetto Lamonto. I live at 323 Violet Street, Massapequa, New York. And this is Dina Burns. She'll be speaking on my behalf.
Fine, thank you.
Thank
Good evening.
Good evening. B-Y-R-N-E. My address is 5 Renville Court, Mill Neck, New York. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Benedetto Lamonto, of 52 Stony Hill Path in Smithtown. Mr. Lamonto has recently acquired the property and proposes a renovation of the existing dwelling, including a 2,347 square foot one-story addition, a 583 square foot side entry garage, and a 664 square foot rear covered porch. If you can kindly refer to the site plan submitted to the board, the current property features a one-story dwelling with an attached two-car garage. It was originally developed in 1946, with additions subsequently added in 1947, in 1963, and lastly altered in 1972 to add a two-car garage. There were no prior variance records on file from the building department. The original dwelling, built askew to the front property line, maintains a front yard setback of 73 feet and a rear yard setback of 91 feet. The positioning of the current dwelling and the property grading influenced the proposed design for the addition and garage. The proposed addition will maintain a front yard setback of 57 feet where 60 feet is required. That's a reduction of 3 feet. And 46-foot front yard setback to the side entry garage where 60 feet is mandated, which is a reduction of 14 feet. The rear covered porch will maintain a 96-foot rear yard setback where 100-foot is required. And I would like to just note to the board that our rear yard setback request is back further than the current rear yard setback of the existing dwelling and foundation. For your consideration, I've submitted a copy of a composite aerial photo obtained from the Suffolk County GIS system depicting the subject property. Okay. I believe it's 2 down. Yes, that one. It's depicting the subject property, the current dwelling, and our proposed addition superimposed on the lot. This composite reflects the current grading and slope of the property. Notably, the proposed addition has been strategically designed on the relatively flat portion of the property, while the surrounding area slopes away and down on all 3 adjacent lots. This design choice is aimed at maximizing the rear yard for future use, such as for a potential in-ground swimming pool. The proposed renovation demonstrates full compliance to all other zoning requirements stipulated by the R43 zone. And furthermore, its design is in harmony with the established character of the neighborhood, drawing support from the numerous instances of successfully improved properties featuring similar additions and garages. As a relevant point of comparison, the abutting property to the north, situated at 36 Stony Hill Path, underwent development in 1985. It received approvals for a variance that allowed the proposed dwelling a reduction in the front yard from 60 feet to 15 feet, a reduction in the rear yard from 100 feet to 60 feet, and a reduction in the side yard from 35 feet to 29 feet to accommodate a side entry garage. Subsequently, it was in 1993, the property secured an additional favorable decision from the Zoning Board of Appeals to convert the existing garage into living space and add a 2-car attached garage, further reducing the side yard from 24 feet to 12 feet. And I'll be submitting copies of the variance approvals, and the surveys to the board for your consideration. Similarly, the abutting property to the west at 27 Valley Avenue was developed in 1966 and received a favorable Zoning Board of Appeals decision allowing a reduced rear yard of 38 feet. I'm submitting copies again of the variance approvals and the survey to the board for the board's consideration. While we acknowledge that the uniqueness of each case presented to the Board of Appeals is worth noting, it is worth noting that in comparison, our property requests appears relatively minor in nature. These proposed adjustments would not adversely impact the character of the neighborhood, especially considering the precedences set by their neighboring properties that have similar approvals. And we thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Are you going to submit those? I'll get them into the record for you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
Yeah, just real quick, I notice you have on your site plan 2 existing curb cuts. Are they going to be removed for the new curb
Yes.
cut?
Yes, there would be just one single curb cut that is proposed on the north side, closer to, well, I can't point up there, but right up
Right. Yep,
the northern part of the would be removed.
thank you.
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Close the application, please.
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Have a good evening.
You too. You too now.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19050, Daniel Myers, 50 Bayberry Drive, St. James. The location of the property, the east side of Bayberry Drive, 79 feet north of Pear Court. The property is owned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 40 feet to 36 feet for a proposed 238-square-foot front covered porch.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Myers. I live at 50 Bayberry Drive, St. James, New York, and I'm going to have Mike Morbillo represent me in this case.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Michael Morbillo, architect for the applicant. My office is located at 273 Lake Avenue, St. James, New York. So the application before you this evening is for a 238 square feet front porch, which is approximately 6 feet in depth by 44 feet in width. It's actually of an overall renovation for second floor on the residence. The front porch is a design element that helps blend the second floor addition in to the first floor. We've done other renovations like this in the neighborhood. It's a common type. The porch is a common blending technique, and the board has granted variances for this type of encroachment. The porch will not be enclosed; it'll remain open, and will not. It's going to improve the character of the neighborhood. It's not going to have any environmental impact, and so no other means of achieving this. So, if the board has any questions at this time, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Fine, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you, but Mike, before you leave, if you could just stop over
Sure
for one
thing.
sec. Thanks.
Will do.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
Second?
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're sharing everything. Yeah, that's okay. Where are the pictures?
You got everything. Nothing. No.
And if he doesn't
All right, Blaze, whenever you're ready. Yep.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19051, Roman Development LLC, 499 Middle Country Road, St. James. The location of the property is the north side of Middle Country Road, so many feet east of Montclair Avenue. The property is owned WSI. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the number of wall signs from a maximum of 1 to 4 signs, to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 26 feet for sign number 1, to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 19 feet for sign number 2, to permit a wall sign above another wall sign for sign number 1.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman
Good
and
evening.
members of the board. Yulia Viola on behalf of the applicant, 100 Motor Parkway, Hapag, New York, Sir Tilman Ballin. Yuliya, and last name is Viola, Viola. So in August of last year, the applicant obtained a zoning board of appeals approval for the previously proposed wall signage. Given the maximum height of the wall signage approved in August of last year, which was 26 feet, given the size of the windows already constructed and substantial front yard setbacks, the size of the building, and the overall look of the building with the wall signs reduced in height, the applicant submitted another application to modify previously approved signage. As you heard from the call of the meeting, the applicant is now seeking 4 variances. 2 variances are for the height of the wall signage. 1 variance is to increase the number of the wall signs from 1 to 4, and the last variance is to permit a wall sign above another wall sign. The applicant submits that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood by the granting of these variances, because the relief sought by the applicant is consistent with the relief previously granted by this board. The benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by an alternative. The requested variance is not substantial. The proposed variances will not have an adverse effect on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, because they are consistent with the location, height, and number of other signs and other buildings in the neighborhood. As such, the applicant is requesting your favorable consideration of this application. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
Just the previous decision, that was approved to 26 feet?
August of 2023, last
It was
year.
approved to 26.
Yes, the signs, so what we did is the sign number 1 and number 2 that are part of the application today, we used to be just only 1 sign, alfresco backyard living. Given that we were required to reduce the height of the sign to 26 feet, we decided to split the sign in 2, put alfresco above the windows of the 2nd floor, and put backyard living sign above the windows on the 1st floor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just one comment for the board, just to be aware. In your packet, there was a letter that was issued by the town engineer to the applicant regarding some issues with adhering to the approved site plan. The town engineer wanted the board to be aware of that in the event there were any issues when making a determination on this application.
We can make a decision tonight on it. Or should we hold off?
You could, yeah.
Okay. All right,
Okay, thank you.
thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second. Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
given that to you. All good? Ready? The next case on the agenda is case number 19052, Richard Betanzos, 237 Lincoln Avenue, St. James. The location of the property is the east side of Lincoln Avenue, 89 feet north of 7th Street. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 25 feet for an existing 198 square foot first floor addition, setback at 37 feet, and existing 174 square foot second story deck, setback at 25 feet.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. We've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio. I believe the board has in its packet a history letter from William White, the chief building director in our town. And basically, this lot was subdivided many, many years ago, actually 1899, and they made the lots smaller than they normally would today in an R10 zone. You can see it's a few feet shorter than the present R10 zoning, which gives you 125 feet length, 75-foot width. But in any event, much of the buildings were, much of the house building was built many, many years ago. I talked to my client, and they indicated that the addition originally was a porch, and that porch was enclosed. Then later, they had some work done upstairs, and my client is deathly afraid of fires, and she wanted another way out. So they built a deck over the existing porch, which, by the way, they closed in one of the walls, and that's why it oh, I'm sorry. Can't talk. Very sorry. I should have shut this off. Anyway, that's Barbara. I can't talk. I'm sorry. So anyway, I don't know where I was, but so you can see from the history letter, if you have it, if you don't, I'll submit it, that many COs were granted. Some of them a very long time ago. The original dwelling was only 20 by 30. But anyway, we come to today, and my client, since they were having some of their sleeping quarters upstairs, she was afraid that there was only one way out, so they built a deck. The deck kind of got away from them, and they built a big deck. But the real reason for the deck was access to the first floor level virtually by the outside. So you can see from the pictures, I don't know if they're up on there, but there's a circular stairway coming down from the deck, I guess a spiral staircase, to the ground level. So we don't feel that this will have an adverse effect on the character of the area. It is a 25-foot reduction in the setback, but again, this is an R10 zone. If it was an R15 or an R20, I think it would be much more, R21, it would be much more of a big request. We don't think that it has any adverse effect on the environment. Obviously, there's no new bathrooms or anything like that. Whether the proposed variance will have an impact on the adjacent properties, no. I think all of the adjacent properties are in that same area with this old file map where they're kind of short lots, not as short as you would find in San Remo, but still short. So we ask the board for its favorable consideration. If it has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Sir, come on up. No, just, please. You state your name and address?
Okay, sure. Chris Levy, L-E-V as in Victor, I-E, and 119 7th Street. I'm the property directly behind. If this is for giving variance to the existing structure, it's been there for a long time. It's been no concern of ours at all. So I would strongly support it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that'd like to be heard in this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19054, Michael and Irina Murfitt, 29 Mayflower Avenue, Smithtown. The location of the property, the east side of Mayflower Avenue, 334 feet south of Edgewater Avenue. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 4 feet, to reduce the total side yards from 18 feet to 16 feet for an existing 97 square foot, one-story side yard addition with a 97 square foot basement.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Michael Murfitt. My family is sitting in the audience. I reside at 29 Mayflower Avenue. I'm here tonight to ask permission to keep an existing 97 square foot one addition. We understand that this does not comply with the required yard setbacks. We purchased the home in 2018 with the addition and all current conditions. We even obtained a fence permit not that long ago, a year ago, and there was never an issue concerning this. In speaking with our neighbors, a deacon stated that, prior to continuing, I have letters that, I have letters and signatures. Would you like that now or after?
You can hand it to me now. Okay, thank you.
Again, when we purchased the home the way it is now is the way we purchased it. One of the letters from a deacon states that he had lived across the street, and that was 25 years ago, stating that that addition was there. Another letter is from a lady who still lives in the neighborhood, stating that that addition was there 40 years ago. And another lady who attended the home and received religious education 61 years ago stated that that addition was there. In the time that this addition has been there, it has not had a negative impact on the neighborhood. It's 4.5 from the lot line feet to the nearest property, causing no impact on them. There will be no adverse effect on the environment, and no new work is proposed. We did not build this addition, nor were we aware of it when we first purchased the home.
But this is going to go into your basement.
Yes.
Facade entrance going in.
No, sir. No. What this is when you go into the room, it's just a room.
Oh, okay.
It's just a room.
All right. And it has a basement. You're going to be putting a basement in?
No, there's a basement in there already.
Okay, so you're putting it over the basement?
Yes. No, well, it's there. It's,
Yeah. Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. Thank you very much. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application?
He's going to see it. Okay.
Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19055, Thomas Arcisi, 9 Jackson Street, Nesconset. The location of the property is the south side of Hayes Street, 105 feet east of Jackson Street. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 25 feet to 15 feet for a proposed 2,908 square foot single-family home with 599 square foot attached side entry garage and a 144 square foot roof over porch.
Good evening.
Good evening. Happy New Year, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Thomas Arcese, A-R-C-E-S-E, P.O. Box 844, Comac, New York, 11725. We are asking for your favorable consideration for a variance for our front porch. My family and I lived in Smithtown and worked for the past 25 years. All 3 of my children went through the school district in the town of Smithtown. We are big supporters of our local stores and restaurants in the town of Smithtown as well. We feel the new home will enhance the neighborhood and will have zero detriment to any nearby properties. This cannot be achieved by any other means. We do not feel this is a substantial request. The proposed variance will not have any adverse effects to the environment, to the neighborhood, nor will it affect the district. The difficulty of this variance was not self-created. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
I just want to point out for the record, it's 20, the house itself is set at 25 feet. It's just the porch that's...
Correct. That's correct.
Thank you.
Just to let the board know, this was not a subdivision, this was an old filed map lot, and it was subdivided along old filed map lot lines to create 2 lots to build 2 single-family homes. Jeff has the survey of the entire property up on the screen where you can see that the 2 lots were created. This has all been done through Suffolk County and through the Suffolk County Department of Health. The board will be seeing another application for the home to the south, I believe, at the next BZA meeting next week. So this will be lot number 1, and next week will be lot number 2.
I just want to add that the one home is for myself and the one behind is for our children, my son and his family.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Have you heard, no. Have you heard anything? By 7?
Was there any more cases?
That's last case.
That's the last case, huh?
5-minute break.
Yeah. What's that? All right. Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute break.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19046, Giovanni Stanco, 21 Heights Road, Fort Salonga. The location of the property is the east side of Heights Road, 456 feet north of Lisa Court. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the maximum height of an accessory structure from 15 feet to 27 feet, to increase the maximum number of stories for an accessory structure from 1 to 2 stories, for a proposed 1,504 square foot detached garage.
Good evening.
Good evening, yep.
Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, yeah, my name is Giovanni Stanco, 21 Heights Road, Fort Salonga, New York, 11768.
Would you like this gentleman to speak on your behalf?
Yes, I apologize, because we did submit the power of attorney, but my mother just had knee surgery, so I rushed from Syosset. So I just want to thank everybody for, hanging in here for me. Thank
Oh,
you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, members of the zoning board. I'm here today on behalf of my client Giovanni Stanco to request a variance for this property at 21
Excuse
Heights.
me, could you just introduce yourself?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
sorry, I thought I already did. Just kidding. I'm Jake Torregrossa. I'm with Magnum Opus Architecture. 99 Powerhouse Road, Roslyn Heights, 11577.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, I'm here today on behalf of my client Giovanni Stanco to request a variance for his property at 21 Heights Road, Fort Salonga, New York. The purpose of this variance is to increase the maximum height of our accessory structure from 15 feet to 27 feet and allow for an additional attic storage, transitioning from a single-story to a two-story structure. The rationale behind this request is to provide an adequate space for our client's passion for automobiles and the preservation of historic automobiles. The garage will be utilized to park his vehicle. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Garage? After historic, yeah, preservation. So, yeah, for automobiles and the preservation of historic automobiles. The garage will be utilized to park his vehicles and store larger, heavy parts, while the attic storage will be utilized for smaller parts and automobile-related collectibles. We believe that the modifications is crucial for accommodating the practical needs of our client while maintaining the overall integrity of the property. The overall design of the structure is meant to go along with the neighboring structures. It's not meant to stick out. We appreciate your consideration and are open to providing any additional information required. Thank you for your time and attention on this matter.
Great, thank you. We went by the house the other day, and from the pictures, I don't see any cars. I see a lot of equipment there.
Yeah.
Is your client running a business out of his house?
No.
Sure.
Yeah, so what happened was I'm just getting ready to build over there. So there's no business run out of there, nothing like that.
But you do have a couple trailers?
Yeah, because they're car trailers. Like, if you look at the trailer, there's a car trailer. So I keep cars in there. So the idea is to really put the cars in the garage, and the equipment is there really just to regrade, the property. If you look at, if you went by there today,
No, the other day.
so you should saw two trailers there. That one's 20 foot, one's another 26 foot for my car.
And there's a small backhoe?
It's like a skid
Bobcat?
steer. Skid steer, yeah. That's just really to grade the property.
Okay,
That's all. But there's no business run out of there, no.
all right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
Yeah, 27 feet is rare for this board to approve for an accessory structure. Can you explain why you need 27 feet?
It was the result of the roof pitch. So in order to accommodate the roof pitch, and the size of the structure, we're going with that also with the storage needs as well.
And it looks to me like just the center part
Yeah.
is going to be occupied. Essentially 1,504 square feet would be twice the allowed accessory structure in the town of Smithtown.
Mhm.
You're doubling it, but only part of that second floor is going to be occupied. Is that
Part of the second floor?
correct? What's the square footage of the first floor?
Of the garage level?
Correct.
I have so the proposed garage storage, that is 1,070 square feet.
So second floor is roughly 400 and
421 attic storage.
And can you bring that down and still keep the architectural look that you're going for?
It was intended to go with the character of the neighborhood.
So is that a no?
I mean, there's a neighbor on Brewster that's got a similar garage, and he's got cars in there too. A 3-car garage. I'm sorry?
Goes to 27 feet high?
I believe so, because it's got a loft on top, you know what I mean? It's got the similar roof line, and it's got definitely similar space on top. On Brewster.
On Brewster?
I don't know the exact street number, but it's a house, and then there's a lot, and then there's a 3-car garage.
The dimensions of the garage were meant to accommodate the automobiles and their size.
How many automobiles are you going to fit in there?
Well, the idea is so for the depth is really to put one of the trailers in there, like the 20-foot trailer in there, so it actually fits in there with the car. And then I'm hoping to fit, probably about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. Because I'm going to, put them on dollies and you just push them away.
Clear. 9-foot ceiling on the first floor?
Yes.
On the second floor, how tall is that?
Uh, 8'3" to the ceiling, and then so we're at 11'10" over the joists, and then we got got 16 to the ridge.
All right, does anyone have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Planning?
I'm sure the board already knows this, but in your packet, there's a letter from a neighbor concerned about the size and the height and the use of the structure. And just as a note to add to the record, to my knowledge, the board has not approved a detached garage to 27 feet.
Thank you.
We're gonna have to.
has the board allowed?
We try to determine what your objective is, and then we try to, what we're supposed to do is grant the minimum relief necessary to have you achieve your objective. So we try to figure out what it is you're trying to do, and then we try to figure out based on precedent and, you know, obviously putting a 27-foot structure in a neighborhood, if it's a house, it's one thing, but if it's a second structure, it tends to impact other people. So we try to keep it as low as we can, but also understanding that there's something that you want to do with it. And if you said it was for a car lift, and for me to put the car, this is the exact height that I have to have, that's a lot easier than, yeah, we want it for storage, because then it's difficult for us to try and determine.
Yeah. I mean, the idea is to put some lifts as I get more cars, you know, but I do have like a truck that's like a 4x4, you know, so it's pretty high type of thing. You know, and I have pictures of my cars, but there is a truck there's one, a C10 truck that's higher, you know, that's part of it, but eventually, you know, if I build on my collection, I might be putting lifts in there and get permits or whatever I need.
Right.
You know, if that's possible, that's part of it as well.
Right, but the only thing is that would make sense if your first floor was 16, I mean, you're 9 feet at the first floor, you're 16 at the second, it makes us wonder, why the heck do we need 16 feet for storage?
Well, the problem is with the roof pitch is if we do go, if we do push it down, we're now encroaching into that 9 feet. So the way that the roof is pitching, it will then start to occupy the space that is in the garage structure. So without the only way to accommodate that would be to have a steeper roof pitch, but that wouldn't solve the height issue.
I notice you have you're proposing a 12 on 10, which is about the steepest. A 12 on 10 roof pitch.
Yes.
Which is significant.
Yes.
And you know, I'm not saying, I mean, the design is nice, it's just that that's what's pushing it up to 27 feet.
Okay.
You know, if you went to a 10 on 10 or an 8 on 10, you could accomplish what you're looking to do and then have this roof be considerably lower.
Okay.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
You're using this garage for cars. Everything else is going to stay the same? All these trailers are going to stay in this driveway?
That's what I mean, like one trailer is actually gonna fit in there. And then the other one is just really now for storage, because I have, you know, I have a car in there, you know? You know, and again, there's no business running out of there, but it's just, you know, there's a skid steer really to kind of clear the property. The property does go down off the road. I don't know, you guys must have noticed that. So it's not like it's gonna be 27 feet at the, you know, the street level. You know, I understand, but it does go down like into like a, I don't know, like a valley. You know, but the idea is really, once the garage goes up, everything there is gonna be cleaned up. You know, I mean, you could see the house. I mean, if you saw the house when I first got it, the house was a disaster. You know, if you look at the house, that's what I'm looking to do there. I'm not looking to do any less quality, put it that way.
The difficult part for us, just to explain, is that if we go to 27 feet, the next person that comes in, that becomes the bellwether. That basically, that benchmark is now, oh, Mr. Stanko got 27 feet, I want 27 feet. And if we can't really justify it, it becomes very difficult. So we're trying to at least I'm trying to figure out what it is you want to achieve so that perhaps we can get you what you want, but not pay for it down the road.
It's really just for the look, you know, the way the look, you know what I mean? Like different pitches of roof have different looks, you know? So that's really what it's, you know, what it's really for, just really for the look. You know, and like you said, I mean, you know, I do want the height on the first floor, and then it's just with the roof pitch, that's what it turned out to be. You know, I didn't know that's you know, higher than anything, because like I said, I mean, I didn't measure the garage on Brewster, but that looks pretty big to me, you know what I mean? It looks like they got high doors and then, you know, on top, and again, not measuring it. The only difference he did is, you know, he chopped the top, I think, it's like flat, or it's a little flatter, but I don't know how high. But that's what I'm saying, like that look to me, I don't, you know, like I think this look serves a little bit better, you know, just a better style, you know, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
You have anything else?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. There'll be no decision tonight. We don't have a CEQA. We have to wait for the CEQA to come in from the environmental people. Okay? Thank you. Yeah. And that concludes a portion of our meeting for tonight. All right, the first case on the agenda tonight was case 19044, Daniel Black.
Case 19044, Daniel Blatt, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second. Motion has been made to approve on case 19044. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19045, Rich McDougal.
Case 19045, Rich McDougal, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19046, Giovanni Stanco. No action. Next case is case 19047, Kaivan Kazumi.
Case 19047, Kayvon Kazemi, on the merits, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19048, Levine Management.
Case 19048, Levin Management, Sephora, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19049, Benedito Lamato.
Case 19049, Benedetto Lamonto, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second. Motion has been made to approve. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19050, Daniel Myers.
Case 19050, Daniel Myers, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19051, Roman Development LLC.
Case 19051, Roman Development LLC. I know we had a letter from engineering. Was it from the building department? Engineering. Can I see that? I think it's in here. I'll make a motion to approve as presented with the condition that the applicant take care of the outstanding conditions as per the letter dated January 4th, 2024 from the engineering department.
Okay, motion has been made with conditions for approval. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19052, Richard Bentanzo.
Case 19052, Richard Betanzos, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19053, 5 Crooked Hill LLC. That has been adjourned to February 13th. Next case is case 19054, Michael Murphy.
Case 19054, Michael and Irina Murfitt. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19055, Thomas Assisi. No action. And now to the back of the page. The first case on the back is case 18986, Sharon Bradshaw.
Did we have the copy of the LWRP with the comments?
Yes, there are 2 conditions recommended.
You have it, Tom?
I got it. I'm on it. So I'm going to read into the record the recommendation from the LWRP. It is recommended that the town board issue a coastal consistency determination that review 2023-10 is consistent with the town of Smithtown local waterfront revitalization programs, subject to the following conditions. This consistency determination is contingent upon the applicant obtaining all necessary variances of 322-19 from the Board of Zoning Appeals. Prior to the issuance of any building permits, the applicant shall submit and receive approval from the planning director of a revised landscaping plan replacing the non-native vegetation, dwarf Japanese garden juniper, with species that are native to the waterfront area. A list of acceptable species is attached. And number 3 is prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, all proposed landscaping shall be planted in accordance with the site landscape plan described in condition number 2.
Do we have to adopt a sequel in this?
No, type
Yes.
2.
Blazers say yes.
You have a secret.
Do we have a
Yeah, but we
Type
don't need
two.
to, yeah. Now, on the merits, do you guys want to discuss the merits of the case? I don't,
Wait, was there a staircase going from the deck to the ground?
No.
There was not.
There is no staircase going from the second-story deck down to the first floor. It's interior access only.
that's it? Any other questions?
No.
On the merits, I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions as per laid out in the LWRP approval.
Bill? Motion has been made to approve with conditions from the LWRP. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 18830, Charles Muller.
This isn't it, right? No. It's just that one?
I believe we have a PAR on this one?
Did you submit, the planning submit a, oh, I got it. Consideration. So we have a recommendation on the LWRP. This is for this current application,
Yes.
this recommendation, and I'll read that into the record. Based,
Do we have a PA for this?
No. There was a memo that was prepared by planning. Basically, the memo outlined the history of the property, the structures that predated zoning, what did not predate and would require a permit and a CO, and any additions that were made to the predated buildings. That was it.
okay, so I'm going to read the recommendations of the LWRP into the record. Recommendation based on reasons presented above and in the 2 prior coastal consistent reviews and determinations completed for this proposal, the Planning Department recommends that the Town Board issue a coastal consistency determination that review 2023-05 is consistent with the Town of Smithtown Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, subject to the following conditions. 1, prior to the issuance of any building permits, the applicant shall submit a drainage plan demonstrating how stormwater runoff from the additions to dwelling number 1, dwelling number 2, and the detached garage for dwelling number 2 can be maintained on site using natural stormwater management measures. The applicant is encouraged to use green infrastructure to manage stormwater, examples permeable pavement, rain garters, etc. All stormwater infrastructure shall be designed in accordance with the New York State Stormwater Management Design Manual. The drainage plan is subject to review and the approval of the town engineer. Prior to the issuance of any certificates of occupancy or certificates of compliance, the applicant shall install all drainage measures shown on the approved drainage plan. Now, on the merits, we had kind of a hodgepodge on this application, because part of it was certificate of existing use coupled with area variances, and there was a request for interpretations. Personally, I'm only one person, but I think interpretations generally are only requested when you're being denied. The chief building official has made a determination that is in conflict with what you're applying. Is that correct?
More or less, yes. The applicant is asking for an interpretation of the building official's determination of the zoning ordinance with respect to their application, because they believe that the building official may have made an error in judgment in preparing a denial letter.
Okay, and personally, I don't think that the interpretation is the way to go on this application. I mean, I like to look at the application as we typically would. You know, that when we're looking at granting variance relief for what's being asked, we apply the code the same way every time. And I believe that's the case with this one.
I believe that the findings address that, though. If Martin would be able to give a better response to this, but I believe if you look through the findings, the findings did look at the 2 areas of concern that the applicant had with respect to interpretation, and that the determination of the review for the request of interpretation found that the building official did not make a mistake, but the fact that the 3 predated dwellings did not require a permit or a certificate of occupancy, they did not fall within the category of interpretation for that aspect of the request. Everything else, because it comes after the zoning comes into play, they're asking for an interpretation of the building official's ruling on what they need, but the bottom line is that the building official is making that denial letter based on what's actually existing.
Right.
So there was really no error on the part of the building official.
Okay. Do we have a copy of the findings? Because
We do, yes.
I'd like to read that onto the record. I have it in my email, I don't have it printed.
We don't have it in the packet.
No.
No. Is it in the file?
Let's look.
Because I know, yeah, Pete said around the original. Right at the end.
No. WRP. No. Wouldn't be here, right?
Did you say you had a copy of it on your phone?
I think you emailed it, right?
Pete emailed the final out to everyone, yes, absolutely.
Hopefully I can find it. Let's look.
Thursday?
No. Oh, it's going to be in the email that I have access to on my phone.
I can't pull up my work email on my phone. Sorry.
Hold on, let me try. I don't remember seeing an email.
There was.
Let's see if I can pull it up a different way. I'd like to definitely have the findings be part of this record.
Absolutely. I think I can get in here, Tony.
Yeah? Okay. Does anyone disagree?
So I agree.
Oh, I agree with. No, that's a good idea.
And I don't see the findings on mine.
So,
I think Martin's trying to find it.
all right. If not, no action tonight. We'll do it next Tuesday.
Do you have it?
I'll get into my email now.
Thank you.
They're not in the packet.
No.
You have mine up there. You're still out of town.
I have my notes.
No, I'm saying this is mine.
Oh, yeah.
So you need
That has to do with the LWRP.
This is the
Nope, I
secret
already did those.
determination. It's the secret determination.
Did you get a copy of the findings?
That's it?
And secret is a type 2? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't access the server to get my email. Do you have it?
Okay, here it is.
Thank God.
This is it, Tony.
How long?
Here we go. We did it, I think it's 3 pages.
Okay. So I'm going to read it into the
Can I
record?
read that?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's so small. That's the
That's
best I
okay.
can get it to.
there it is. That is it.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm going to read the findings of fact into the record. You're sure that's the one, right?
That's it.
Okay. Owner applicant Charles Muller seeks area variances and certificates of existing use for 3 residential dwellings and associated structures that were constructed on a single lot prior to the adoption of the town's zoning ordinances. The applicant also seeks to bring other structures on his property into compliance with the town code, which were constructed without permits and can only remain if variances are approved. The applicant does not propose to construct. Can you still hear me, darling? The applicant does not propose to construct additions or any new structures on his lot. At 6.365 acres, 277,264 square feet, Mr. Muller's property is an oversized lot in the residential district R43, which requires a minimum lot area of 43,560 square feet and a minimum lot frontage of 150 feet per dwelling unit. The dwellings are known as the Brick House, 7 Seashell Lane, the Pond House, 28 Marion's Lane, and the Beach House, 9 Seashell Lane. A building department history letter dated February 16, 2006, and relied upon by the planning department to issue its recommendations on December 6, 2022, reflects that the following structures predate the town's requirements for building permits and certificates of occupancy. 28 Marion's Lane, 1-story dwelling, 1,138 square feet, with a 150 square foot open porch and a 250 square foot shed. 2, 7 Seashell Lane, 2.5-story dwelling, 1,540 square feet, with a 224 square foot porch with deck over, a 72 square foot rear porch, and a 38 square foot pump house. And 3, 9 Seashell Lane, a 1-story dwelling, 656 square feet with a 152 square foot porch and a 360 square foot detached garage. Town records consisting of town assessor's records, building department property cards, and the history letter dated February 16, 2006 reflect that the following structures required but were constructed without building permits in violation of the town's building zone ordinance. They are subject to approval of variances and building permits in order for them to lawfully remain. 28 Marion's Lane, 230 square foot 1-story addition, 150 square foot open porch converted to an enclosed patio, and a 593 square foot attached garage. Number 2, 7 Seashell Lane, 673 square foot 2-story addition, 576 square foot 2-story addition, 232 square foot 1-story addition, and a 648 square foot attached garage. And number 3, 9 Seashell Lane, expansion of the 360 square foot detached garage to 537 square feet. Moreover, the legal status of the existing structures also became non-conforming by reason of the town's adoption of code provisions addressing environmentally sensitive lands, ESL Chapter 322 and 322-19, adopted in 1986, and the calculation of maximum gross floor area for buildings located in the local waterfront revitalization program, LWRP, area Chapter 322 and 322-29, adopted in 1989. The applicant's property is unique in that it not only lies adjacent to the Long Island Sound, but also lies adjacent to and beneath the waters of Fresh Pond. The variances requested are as follows. Permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered, slopes greater than 15%, and depth to groundwater less than 10 feet. 2, permit structures to be constructed within 100 feet of wetlands to 56 feet. Number 3, reduce setbacks from a flood hazard zone from 10 feet to 0 feet to legalize existing structures in a flood hazard zone that was created after the structures were built. 4, increase gross floor area for structures within the LWRP boundary from 6,549 square feet to 8,950 square feet. 5, a variance of the requirement that any non-conforming structure used for a lawful purpose shall not be repaired, reconstructed, or structurally altered to an extent exceeding 75% of the fair market value of the structure. And 6, and lastly, the applicant seeks certificates of existing uses to maintain 3 dwellings on the property without separate frontage. B, the subject site. The subject parcel consists of 1 tax lot that is located in the R43 zoning district. Single-family residence, 43,560 square feet minimum, and is developed with 3 single-family homes, 2 detached garages, and miscellaneous accessory structures per town assessors and building department's records. Immediately to the north of the subject parcel is the Long Island Sound. West of the subject site is Fresh Pond, and properties zoned R43 developed with single-family homes. East and south of the site are properties zoned R43 that are developed with single-family homes. C, the decision was appealed from. On October 19, 2022, Mr. Muller filed an application appeal to the Board of Zoning Appeals, seeking multiple variances in an ongoing effort to bring the dwellings and other structures on his property into compliance with the town code. In 2014, Mr. Muller filed a similar application to the BZA and was awarded relief that was subsequently challenged in an Article 78 proceeding and annulled by a court order in 2018. See discussion in item G below. On November 23, 2022, the Smithtown Building Director denied Mr. Muller's application for certificates of existing use and listed a number of variances that would have to be applied for before the Board of Zoning Appeals. As a result of the building director's determination, the applicant filed the instant appeal and request for interpretation regarding the necessity of certificates of existing use relating to the existence of 3 dwellings on a single lot in R43 residential district and the town's calculation of gross floor area permitted in the LWRP boundary and on environmentally sensitive land. The building director determined that Mr. Muller would need the following variances. First, Chapter 322-19C, permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered. 2, Chapter 322-19D, permit structures within 100 feet from any wetlands to 56 feet. 3, Chapter 322-19E, reduce the setback from flood hazard zone and from slopes greater than 15% from 10 feet to 0 feet existing. 4, Chapter 322-29, increase gross floor area of a lot in the LWRP from 6,549 square feet to 8,957 square feet for 3 single-family residences, 2 detached garages, 1 shed, and 1 pump house per existing conditions site plan. 5, Chapter 322-73A, request certificates of existing use, and to increase the number of permitted dwellings on a single lot from 1 to 3 dwellings. And 6, Chapter 322-73E, variance to the requirement that any non-conforming structure used for lawful use shall not be repaired, reconstructed, or structurally altered to an extent exceeding 75% of the fair market value of this structure. See copy of the memorandum decision of William W. White. I'd like to just note that we're going to make this part of the record. I'm going to read it in and we'll also email it so that any exhibits can be added to the record as well. D, procedural facts of this application. BZA application number 18830 submitted on October 19th, 2022. The scheduled hearing dates were November 15th, 2022, was adjourned to December 13th, 2022. December 13th, 2022, public hearing was held and adjourned to March 14th, 2023. On March 14th, 2023, it was adjourned to May 23rd, 2023, and on May 23rd, 2023, the public hearing was held and the case was closed. E, public hearing testimony. The board conducted a public hearing December 13th, 2022. The applicant, Charles Muller, was represented by an attorney, Mr. Philip Butler of the law firm Farrell Fritz. Mr. Butler provided all board members with an informational packet and then presented testimony in support of the application that included the following. A, the 3 predated dwellings did not require CEUs because 322-73 of the town zoning ordinance did not apply, as the dwellings were conforming at the time they were constructed and have exclusively been used as single-family dwellings. B, the building department denial letter incorrectly applied sections 322.19 and 322-29 to calculate the total buildable lot area within the boundaries of the LWRP. 322-29 does not require that 22-19 be included in calculating the total buildable lot area within the LWRP, as 322-29 does not permit environmentally sensitive land to be included in calculating buildable lot area. C, the buildable lot area, when calculated using 322-19, would be 14,197 square feet. Using 322-29, the buildable lot area would be 16,863 square feet. Both numbers are much greater than the 6,549 square feet listed on the building department denial letter. D, the applicant's property is a single lot, that is a total of 6.365 acres in the R43 zoning district that requires 1 acre per dwelling. Although the property is a single parcel, the existing predated dwellings meet the character of the neighborhood because the homes are situated as if they were on individual lots. The existing the existing dwellings and additions have existed on the property for decades, and the applicant is not proposing to expand the dwellings or construct any other structures on the property. F, the applicant meets the 4 factors needed to be granted a use variance for the expansion of the non-conforming dwellings. Mr. Butler concluded his presentation by addressing the 5 area variance considerations as they relate to the application, stating the following. 1, the requested variances would not produce an impact to the adjacent properties or the surrounding area because the 3 dwellings, additions, and accessory structures have existed on the property for many decades, and the applicant is not proposing any further construction on the site. 2, the requested variances are not substantial because the existing dwellings with additions and the accessory structures individually and collectively meet the requirements of the R43 zoning district and have existed for decades. 3, the benefit cannot be achieved by an alternative because the dwellings are existing, and demolishing substantial portions of the dwellings to comply with current zoning would be prohibitive. 4, the requested variances would not cause an adverse impact to the environment because the 3 dwellings with additions and accessory structures have existed on the site for many decades, and no further development is proposed. 5, the difficulty is not self-created by the applicant because the existing dwellings with additions and accessory structures have existed for many decades prior to the applicant purchasing the property. Following Mr. Butler's presentation, the applicant, Charles Muller, addressed the board asking for approval to maintain the dwellings, additions, and accessory structures. After Mr. Muller spoke, the planning department offered comments to the board outlining the approximate time frame the dwellings, additions, and accessory structures were constructed, and stating that the existing predated dwellings were eligible for CEUs, and the additions and accessory structures would need variances to be maintained. Chairman then opened the floor to public comments. Mr. Timothy Hill, Esquire of the firm Messina, Perillo, and Hill, LLP, represented several of the adjacent homeowners and other homeowners in the vicinity. Mr. Hill stated on the record concerns about the call of the meeting, not including a request for an interpretation of the building department denial letter, that a use variance may be required for the application, but was not requested. The 3 predated dwellings lost their lawful non-conforming status because additions were added after the adoption of the zoning ordinance. The residential use of the property is no longer valid. because the applicant rents the beach house as an Airbnb year-round and uses the large detached garage as a place of assembly for gatherings and a music venue. Mr. Hill stated that the subject site does not meet the character of the neighborhood because the existing homes with additions and accessory structures are overdevelopment of the property because of the environmentally sensitive land. This is my battery? Yeah. And that some of the structures are used for commercial purposes. Mr. Hill stated that the applicant is requesting more variances than permitted by town code under 322-83, which states the board can only grant up to 3 area variances for any property that is non-conforming. Following Mr. Hill's presentation, a number of residents addressed the board with concerns about the application that included the use of the beach house as an Airbnb, not being a residential use, and that the people renting the home for overnight or weekend stays were trespassing on their property and leaving behind trash and other unwanted waste. Other concerns were the detached garage being used for events that were not residential uses, such as meetings and music events, that the property had not been occupied for many years, from sometime in the 1990s to approximately 2000, that some of the improvements made by the applicant have created a flooding hazard on Seashell Lane, and that approving the variances would create an undesirable change to the area because the applicant would either expand the existing dwellings or subdivide the property to construct larger homes. Following the residents' comments, Mr. Butler was given an opportunity to address their concerns. Mr. Butler reiterated many of the points made during his presentation and the 5 area variance considerations. Mr. Butler stated that there was considerable testimony on the record that should be addressed and that he would request that the hearing be adjourned to a later date in order for him to review the minutes to prepare a proper response. The board agreed and adjourned the hearing to a later date. The board conducted the second public hearing on May 23rd, 2023. The applicant, Charles Muller, was represented by an attorney, Mr. Philip Butler of the law firm Farrell Fritz. Mr. Butler presented testimony in support of the application that included the following. Subsequent to the last public hearing, the application was amended to include requests for interpretation of the building department denial letter with respect to the requirement of CEUs for the 3 predated dwellings and for the buildable lot area within the LWRP as calculated by the building director using both 322-19 and 322-29. The 3 predated dwellings are not non-conforming because they are residential dwellings situated on residentially zoned property and have been used exclusively for residential purposes since their construction. The building director calculated the maximum gross floor area as 6,549 square feet using both above-mentioned sections of the code to calculate the gross floor area. The actual gross floor area should be 16,863 square feet based on the requirements for the LWRP review. Mr. Butler stated that his presentation at the prior hearing included all relevant information to support his client's request for the interpretations and area variances. Mr. Butler concluded his presentation by addressing the 5 area variance considerations as they relate to the application and handing board members supporting documentation, including a written statement from the previous owner of the property regarding occupancy. Following Mr. Butler's presentation, Howard Morris of Rogers and Taylor Appraisers provided testimony that the best use for the property is the 3 existing single-family homes. The 3 dwellings meet the character of the residential neighborhood they are situated in. There is no negative impact to other surrounding properties' values, and the existing dwellings are residential in nature and the intent of the zoning district. Following Mr. Morris's testimony, Matthew Aylward of R&M Engineering provided testimony that Mr. Morris's assessment that the 3 existing dwellings are the best possible use for the property. A recent soil boring indicated groundwater to be at 4.3 feet below grade. that other permitted types of uses in the R43 zoning district would be more impact on the property for sanitary, traffic, and infrastructure. Following Mr. Aylward's testimony, Leon Pugh of Five Star Plumbing and Heating provided testimony that his company refurbished the existing kitchen and bathroom plumbing, that no additional work was performed on the dwelling. Following Mr. Pugh's testimony, Charles Muller addressed the board, stating that the property is used for residential purposes. There are no commercial uses on the property. The Airbnb use was discontinued, and the garage is used as an accessory structure. There is no flooding onto Seashell Lane from his property. He has not constructed anything on the property, only improved what was already existing. He wants to maintain the existing dwellings that fit in the character of the neighborhood, not build McMansions like others are doing in the area, and he and his wife are environmentalists that want to preserve the property in its current state, along with Fresh Pond. After Mr. Muller spoke, Tia Muller addressed the board. Mrs. Muller stated that she and her husband want to preserve the property in its current state, that the home they live in is historic, and that they are environmentalists that want to preserve the property and preserve and protect Fresh Pond. Following Mrs. Muller's testimony, board members had questions for Mr. Butler about the age and use of the existing structures. The chairman then opened the floor to public comments. Ms. Lisa Perillo, Esquire of the firm Perillo and Hill LLP, represented one of the adjacent homeowners. Ms. Perillo stated the call of the hearing lacked sufficient information about what the applicant was requesting an interpretation for. The applicant was requesting code amendments or changes of zone regarding the LWRP, gross floor area calculations. The applicant was seeking the same relief as a prior application for the property. The applicant did not demonstrate meeting the 4 factors to obtain a use variance. Approval of the request would turn the property into a multi-use compound, and the applicant has not demonstrated that they meet the 5 area variance considerations. Following Ms. Perillo's presentation, a number of residents presented testimony in support of the application, and several residents voiced concerns about the application that included the use of the beach house as an Airbnb and the detached garage being used for events were not residential uses, that the property had not been occupied for many years, from sometime in the 1990s to approximately 2000, that some of the improvements made by the applicant have created a flooding hazard on Seashell Lane, and that approving the variances would create an undesirable change to the area because the applicant would neither expand the existing dwellings or subdivide the property to construct larger homes. Following the residents' comments, Mr. Butler was given an opportunity to address their concerns. Mr. Butler reiterated many of the points made during his presentation about the 3 predated dwellings not being non-conforming and not needing CEUs, that the building official incorrectly applied both 322-19 and 322-29 to determine the gross floor area of the property. Following Mr. Butler's closing arguments, the chairman closed the public hearing. Applicant's request for interpretation. With respect to the interpretive relief requested by the applicant, he argues that Town Code 322-73 does not apply because the use of the 3 dwellings has always been and remains residential. For reasons stated below in item G, the Board of Zoning Appeals agrees with the applicant that the issuance of certificates of existing use are not applicable. With respect to the calculation of the gross floor area on his lot, the applicant argues that it was improper for the building director to remove the area constituting environmentally sensitive land and then subject the available building area to the gross floor area ratio calculation under section 322-29 for land within the LWRP boundary. While the board disagrees with the applicant's argument for the reasons stated below in items G and H, the board finds that a variance to increase the gross floor area from 6,546 square feet to 8,950 square feet is warranted. G, relevant history, and interpretation. In 2014, Mr. Mueller filed an application with the BZA for variances and certificates of existing use. The BZA awarded him certificates of existing use for 2 dwellings that do not meet frontage requirements under the town code, as well as other variances. The 2014 BZA determination was challenged by a neighbor who filed an Article 78 proceeding. Matter of Niger versus Benz et al., Suffolk County Index Number 08712/2016. The Honorable Mark Cohen annulled the BZA determination in a decision dated April 26, 2018, without prejudice, to allow the BZA to supplement the record and make a new determination on the issue of the CEUs. Notably, the court acknowledged in footnote 3 of its decision that in accordance with the definitions of use variance and area variance contained in Town Law 267, the BZA had properly interpreted that the issue before it involved area variances and not use variances. This fact has not changed. The original dwellings on Mr. Muller's lot are residential in nature and were lawfully constructed and have been used only as single-family residential dwellings, a permitted use in the R43 zoning district prior to the adoption of the town zoning districts effective January 1st, 1964. In addition, although only one of the dwellings has frontage on a public road, the 2 other dwellings have frontage on a private access drive known as Seashell Lane. Although Seashell Lane is not a dedicated road, it has been used for many decades as an access road to 3 adjoining properties west of the applicant's property. Hence, the applicant's 3 single-family dwellings are not non-conforming uses. As such, none of the subsections of Town Code Section 322-73 apply. Instead, the dwellings became non-conforming structures to the extent they violate certain dimensional regulations, area regulations, of the building zone ordinance. Example 322-19 and 322-29, not use regulations. Matter of Dawson versus Zoning Board of Appeals of Town of Southold. I'm not going to read all those numbers. The original dwellings, as well as the additions and accessory structures built prior to 1986 and 1989, are considered lawfully non-conforming because they were constructed prior to the adoption of 322-19 and 322-29, respectively. Importantly, Section 322-75C of the Town Zoning Code expressly sets forth that any variance to expand a lawful non-conforming structure that is used only for a conforming use shall be deemed an area variance. This code provision and the underlying principle apply to the facts of this case. The application brought by Mr. Mueller is to legalize the expansion of 2 of the lawful non-conforming structures and the construction of a detached garage. Accordingly, there is no basis for the issuance of certificates of existing use for any of the 3 dwellings, 7 Seashell Lane, 9 Seashell Lane, and 28 Marion's Lane, but rather the proposal requires the issuance of area variances. With respect to the calculation of the gross floor area requirement, the applicant argues that the town should not apply both Section 322-19 and Section 322-29 because it unfairly subjects a property such as his, which is uniquely situated next to both a freshwater pond and the Long Island Sound. The board has reviewed both code sections and finds no express or implied intention of the town board to require the application of one section to the exclusion of the other. To the contrary, the board finds that Section 322-29, which was adopted in 1989, 3 years after the town board adopted Section 322-19, does require permits for environmentally sensitive land determinations to be analyzed under the consistency requirements of the town's Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, LWRP, Section 322-29A. In addition to the gross floor area ratio limits of Section 322-29D, for lots within the LWRP boundary. Hence, both calculations under Section 322.19 and Section 322.29 are proper. However, because the applicant does not seek to expand or build any new structures on his oversized lot, and given the variance considerations under Town L, Section 267B, 3B, which the board has taken into account, see item H below, the board finds that the increase of 2,408 square feet of gross floor area on his lot is warranted, and therefore his request for a variance increasing the gross floor area from 6,549 square feet to 8,957 square feet is approved. H, area variances. As per Town L 267-B, Town Law 267B, 3B, the following 5 considerations for area variances are analyzed. The variances will not cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. 2, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. 3, the requested variances are not substantial. 4, the proposed variances will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. And 5, the difficulty is not self-created. 1, the dwellings and improvements to attached garages, detached garage, pump house, and additions to the residential dwellings have existed on the property for many decades. As set forth above, the applicant is not proposing to make any additional modifications to the existing residential dwellings or the existing improvements, nor is the applicant proposing any further development. Granting the variances at this time. Granting the variances at this time will not alter the character of the property or the surrounding neighborhood in any manner. Given the large size of the lot and its existing open space and wooded areas, the variances will not alter the natural setting of this residential lot or the neighborhood. 2, requiring strict compliance with Section 322-19 C, D, and E, and Section 322-29 would require demolishing significant portions of the dwellings and some of the improvements, which would have a far more deleterious effect on the property than the issuance of the variances. The potential contamination of fresh pond from demolition actions is a significant unnecessary risk to the environment. 3, the dwellings and improvements have existed on the property for decades. 28 Marion's Lane, also known as the Pond House, circa 1933, 7 Seashell, also known as the Brick House, circa 1880, 9 Seashell, also known as the Beach House, with detached garage, circa 1931. All other additions and structures post-1947 and do not appear to have had any detrimental effect on the natural landscape of this oversized lot. The effect of the variances will only serve to confirm what has existed on this unique lot and will not encompass further additions or development. 4, there is no evidence that granting the requested variances will cause any environmental impact to the neighborhood or the residential district in which it exists and has existed for many decades. Requiring demolition of parts or all of certain structures, on the other hand, will, in all likelihood, have detrimental environmental impacts to the neighborhood and or district because environmentally sensitive lands would be significantly disturbed by clearing and excavation work adjacent to fresh pond. 5, all of the dwellings, 2 detached garages, pump house, utility shed, and other improvements have existed for many decades prior to the applicant's purchase of the property. The record does not reflect that any work at the property performed by the applicant, interior renovations, exterior renovations, chicken coop, split rail fence, and movable decks and walking platforms requires a variance. Hence, the need for requested variances was not created by the actions of the applicant. Summary of findings. The board, after due study, decides the applicant as follows. Variance to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered for slopes greater than 15% and depth to groundwater less than 10 feet be approved. Variance to permit structures within 100 feet of any wetlands to 56 feet be approved. Variance to permit structures within 10 feet of a flood hazard zone and slopes greater than 25% be approved. Increase the gross floor area of the lot from 6,549 square feet to 8,957 square feet to cover existing structures on existing conditions plan dated 2/16/2021 be approved. Variance of the dimensional requirements so as to permit an increase from 1 single-family dwelling per lot to 3 single-family dwellings on applicant's lot, Suffolk County Tax Map number 800-1-1-9 be approved. Variance to permit any structure used for a lawful use to be repaired, reconstructed, or structurally altered to exceed 75% of the fair market value of the structure be approved. With the following conditions. Approvals set forth herein are applicable to the site and its structures and improvements which currently exist. Further development of the subject site shall require additional approvals as required by local, state, and federal laws, ordinances, rules, regulations, and administrative findings. There's a number 2, but there's nothing there. That was it. That's my motion.
We have a second? Motion.
Yes, I guess first we want to adopt those findings as this board's decision.
Yeah. You want a second, Bill, you want a second, the adoption?
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
All in favor?
We're going to adopt it first, right? You made the motion to adopt.
Correct.
Bill seconded it.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried to adopt.
With
No.
the conditions as set forth in the LWRP.
Okay,
All right.
now on the merits?
On the, the motion included the merits. I believe. Did we do that correctly?
We did that correctly. We also have to adopt the secret today.
Secret was a type 2.
Oh, it's type 2. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No. Can we take a break? All right,
Next,
so.
next case on the agenda is case 19018, Nicholas Catalano.
Case 19018, Nicholas Catalano. This was the application for the pizza oven.
Pizza oven.
From 6 feet to
4.
4. This application, I just want to point out, is similar to ones we've received in the past. I think the fundamental difference between this one is that it's a pizza oven, not a fireplace. From personal experience, I do know that they operate differently, that the firebox in the fireplace is directly below the flue in a fireplace, and in the pizza oven, the flue is actually in the chamber that is in the doorway where the fire is not. So it's highly unlikely that you would get embers coming out of the flue. And the fires are considerably smaller in these than fireplaces. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add.
No, I agree with you.
But I don't think that the 6 to 4 feet is substantial. And I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. The next case is case 19022, Mary Pachecky. I think she wants to reopen.
Yes, so the applicant has already come before the board. They were requesting variances to construct a detached garage. They are within the boundaries of the LWRP. Apparently, when the denial was being prepared, there was a variance omitted from the denial letter, regarding the amount of FAR that's permitted within the boundaries of the LWRP. The applicant exceeds what's considered to be the maximum amount for their property based on factors. They exceed it by about 300 square feet. So either they would have to reduce the amount of floor area of their proposal or ask the board for that variance. We have no objection to them asking for that variance, so we're asking the board to reopen the case, put it on the agenda for February 13th, so that they can send out their letters, post their signs, we can advertise it, they can come back and ask for that variance.
So this is just a simple reopen. We've not decided on this case.
Correct.
Okay. I'm a yes.
Okay. So case 19022, Mary Pachecky, that is going to be reheard February 13th. Next case on the agenda is case 19024, Edward Medina.
Case 19024, Edwin Mendia. I have in my notes that the groundwater is actually at 9'6" and that there are encroachments onto adjacent parcels.
I have concrete pillows need to be removed, is that correct?
That's the encroachment.
That's the encroachment?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented with the condition that any and all encroachments be either removed or brought into compliance.
Second. Motion has been made with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. And the last case for tonight is case 19025, James Vitale.
Case 19025, James Vitale. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second. Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. And that concludes our meeting for tonight.